Remember, Associated Journals belong to the families of 5,000 freedom fighters. Effectively, the assets belonging to AJL were transferred to 4 individuals: Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Oscar Fernandez and Motilal Vora, with Rahul and Sonia owning 76% of the stake. Those are the questions that the ED is posing to Rahul Gandhi for the 3rd day running. Joining me on this broadcast, representing the BJP, we've got its spokesperson Shehzad Poonawalla. Representing the Congress, we've got Supriya Shirnet, we've got Bishwajit Bhattacharya, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, former Additional Solicitor General of India. I want to go across to Supriya Shirnet on some of the reportage that we just put out. We spoke a lot about Dotex. We in fact sent a reporter down. We looked at the Ministry of Corporate Affairs Registrar of Companies filings. It seems quite clear, A, that it's a guest house. So the charge that Smriti Irani leveled about this being a shell company, that there is no real activity that they are involved in. A, your response to that charge. And the second point, which comes out of the report that we just put out after speaking to the company secretaries, judges and experts on company law, which is about there was a cleaner way to do this deal, which is to sell the real estate assets of AJL rather than finding a way of transferring assets belonging to 5,000 individuals or 5,000 families to 4 individuals at the helm of the Gandhi family, at the helm of the Congress party. Supriya Shirnet.
Thank you for having me on the show. I will first start off with saying, which is my position and has always been on this case, where is the scheduled offence? Where is the FIR? How is ED questioning a PMLA case? I want that answer. That answer hasn't come from the government. That answer hasn't come from ED. My second point, and I think that's a point I want to make and make with some emphasis, my colleagues are being beaten up. Women's clothes, Jyoti Mani's clothes have been torn. We saw how JB Mathur was being pulled mercilessly by the police. I denounce every bit of how the Delhi police and how dare it enter the Congress headquarters and treat our people the way they did. To answer your question first, I want to give you an example, and that example is important to give because I think the wider audience should understand what are we debating and why are we, why is it malicious. You and I buy a lakh of shares each of Indian hotels that owns the Taj, the Taj hotels, the Indian hotel, the Taj group of hotels. You and I buy a share, 1 lakh each of shares. Does it give us the right to a presidential suite in the Taj? No, it does not, no matter how many shares we buy. Because please understand what has happened. You keep saying assets are being owned by Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. Assets have been transferred. Not a single asset was transferred from AJL. The 700 plus shareholders of AJL continue to be shareholders of AJL. Young Indian is one more such shareholder. Please also understand.
Which owns 99% of the assets. Which owns 99% of the equity of AJL and therefore virtually all the assets. The shareholders who earlier had 100% of the shareholding are now down to 1%.
Good point you're making. But again, a point that lacks actually the substance of what I'm trying to say. That's an academic argument you are making. Because the 99% that you keep talking about, it's actually a 98%, is owned by a company which is a Section 25 company, not for profit. So it's an academic exercise. You can own 1 share or you can own 1,000 shares if you are not going to be the fiscal beneficiary.
Even if it is academic, I'd love to own assets worth hundreds of crores. I don't know. You've been a business journalist. I don't know how you're calling this an academic exercise. This is a real transfer of shareholding. You can hold the only point, and I want to put that to. I'll put your point. Rather than join argument with you, let me put that point to Shehzad Poonawalla. The one straw that she can hang on to is that no, you've spoken for 3 minutes. Supriya, don't complain. You've spoken for 3 minutes. Supriya, you've spoken for 3 minutes. Let's get an opening comment from Shehzad. I'm coming back. I've asked her 3 questions. I can't be bullied like this. No. So Shehzad, no, this is not unfair. You've spoken for 3 minutes. Let the other guy have a chance. Shehzad Poonawalla, the argument that Supriya makes is that this is an academic transfer of assets, which is not. There's no, in asset transfer, there's no academic transfer. It's a real transfer of assets, not a notional transfer of assets. But the argument she makes, and Chidambaram made that point, is that no money is being taken out. It's not like Rahul or Sonia, Motilal Vora or Oscar Fernandez have sold any of the assets and therefore not benefited from it. And therefore, you can't say that this is money laundering because no money is being taken out. That's the point that Chidambaram and now suppression.
Rahul, let me make very important clarifications about how Mr. Chidambaram has been spin doctoring using the platform of this channel. First of all, they said that there's no FIR in this case. ED does not file FIRs, it files what is called an ECIR. And an FIR is a starting point of investigation, it goes to court, court takes cognizance. In this matter, since Subramaniam Swamy had gone to court first, the court had taken cognizance and directed that there should be action under 403, 406, 420, 120B, and 420 and 120B, by the way, are scheduled offences under PMLA Section 3 for money laundering. Okay, so there was an ECIR that was registered. I have the Hindu report also confirming this fact. So there is an ECIR. And let me give you one more example. In the last year, there was an attachment of ED of these properties. Mr. Motilal Vora and Oscar Fernandez, God bless their souls, were also investigated. If there was no FIR, ECIR, and this was happening, the great Mr. Chidambaram did not go to court once saying that why are you harassing my colleagues without an FIR? That wasn't their argument 3 days ago. Now, secondly, let me come to the point about the transfer of the assets. Rahul, there is something called beneficial interest in assets. So, for instance, if they had such good noble intentions, AJL had taken a loan from Congress party could have waived it and kept the shares with AJL itself. They did not. Their shares got transferred to YI for 50 lakh rupees, which was taken from Dotex, which is a big question mark. And YI had only 2 major shareholders, Rahul and Sonia, 78%. And YI, by the way, had no charitable activity from 2010 to 16. It did not run the newspaper till 2016. So what about their charity under the Section 8, Section 25 company? More importantly, if you wanted to only do some favor to AJL, Congress could have waived off the loan in favor of AJL. But they did not. And AJL shares, when it went to young Indians, people like Kaju and people like Shantilal Bhushan were defrauded because they were not told. Please, Supriya, you will get an opportunity. I request you. We are having a good debate. Lastly, no money or... please, Rahul, I beg your indulgence. Rahul, I beg your indulgence.
Supriya, let me speak.
Third point that Mr. Chidambaram said, ki not a single rupee has gone to Rahul Gandhi. I don't believe Mr. Chidambaram, he's out on bail. I believe the income tax, which slapped a notice of 100 crores saying that this undisclosed income was there in favor of Rahul and Sonia, which was the income they generated from Young India, which started renting out these properties. And forget income tax. They will say, ye bhi bika hua hai. They challenged this income tax order in Supreme Court and High Court, and the Supreme Court, High Court upheld this. And lastly, but you understood what I'm trying to say.
One second, let's take it one at a time. We have enough time on the debate.
Right.
Because
they did get beneficial interest out of it.
After speaking to company secretaries and company law experts, it's very clear, Supriya, that there were other ways, more charitable or noble ways in which this transaction could have been structured. For example, if there is a loan that's being written off, the Congress could have written off that loan with Associated Journals itself, which had at least 1,000 shareholders at this time, 5,000 earlier, and therefore the assets would have stayed with those shareholders. Instead, the loan was written off when the assets were transferred to Young Indian, and therefore effectively those assets now belong largely to 4 individuals. So the same thing could have, why is it that this is raising questions? Because the manner in which the entity concept is being violated, you're taking what belongs to 1,000 individuals, 1,000 families, and transferring it to 4. And then you're only saying, I haven't sold it, but it's yours now.
No, you're wrong there. You're wrong there. And please don't use words like bully. I don't appreciate being called out those words. I
didn't say you were a bully. I was saying I can't be bullied. I never called you a bully.
No, I
said I can't be bullied.
Please don't use words like that with me. I don't like those words. Please don't use them with me. You can heckle me, you can stop me from speaking, but please don't use words like that because I personally don't appreciate it. I don't think you're letting me speak and making my point. AJL's assets are with AJL. Young Indian is one more shareholder. When voting happens, it happens on the number of shareholders voting. So Young Indian, because it owns 99% share, doesn't have disproportionate rights. And you can be very happy owning 100 crore worth of shares. But those worth of shares will never come to you. You are never going to gain a single penny out of that. So you can own all of corporate India. But if you're not going to get a single penny of that, it is an academic and a notional exercise. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Section 25 में अगर आप director है, shareholder है, आपको AJL के
assets से transfer of real estate assets, there is no academic transfer.
Please let me finish.
Ma'am, no, because you're wrong. There is no academic transfer of assets. In the books, there's a real transfer of assets to new owners. It's not. What is an academic transfer of assets?
Can I just
I
explain this
don't think
concept
you're even
very briefly, Rahul,
understanding what
because
I'm
it's a
saying
legal
because you
concept.
don't want to perhaps. It is academic because Section 25 is a not-for-profit company. No
Your
matter
only
how many
argument is they
assets,
can't
no
sell
matter
the
what
assets,
comes
it's
to
not
that
like Sonia
company.
Rahul
that
can
is
walk
not,
away with the money.
Rahul, that is immaterial whether you can transfer the assets of somebody's name.
Am I
Every
being
asset
given
has
an
a-
opportunity
please,
to talk?
Supriya, I request your indulgence.
No,
You
I
are- we
think
are
I'm
having
talking
an
right
academic
now.
discussion.
It's not
You will
about
get your
peace,
opportunity.
Supriya.
Let me just
No,
make a
Rahul.
point.
No,
I
why are
humbly
we having
request
an
you.
academic?
I'm talking
Why?
about
I just finished
Rahul,
with
I
college
just want
and
to
came
explain
back. I
something
don't want
very-
to have an
Rahul,
academic
no, no,
conversation.
Rahul,
This is a real world
I want to
conversation.
explain
Yes.
in the most
Yes,
humblest
go
tone.
on.
I'm trying to make a point. You don't need to transfer
Rahul,
an
why
asset.
am I not being allowed to speak?
You just spoke,
I'm
Supriya.
shocked.
Rahul,
No, I'm
may I-
sorry. I
may
don't
I-
like
Rahul,
the
this
fact
is
that
not
you're letting
the-
the other
Okay,
person
give her
like
another
me
minute.
start
Give her
speaking
another
over
minute.
But then let me
Okay,
explain
one
two, three
second.
things.
Let her continue. Supriya, go on.
Rahul
who's
Gandhi or
heckling and
Sonia
bullying?
Gandhi do not have anything to do with AJL. So whatever AJL is earning goes to AJL. They have nothing to do with AJL. They are not on the boards of directors. They are not shareholders. They have nothing to do with the governance of the company. This is an academic exercise because assets have not been transferred. I don't know how else do I explain it.
Okay,
There's a
can I
company
hold you?
A,
Can I just tell you that
380 crores of
one second,
assets.
Supriya, a case study in a business school for the extent of what's happening in class, if you set up a company, transfer assets around, that is an academic exercise. This is not an academic exercise. This is an exercise
It
in the
is.
real
I'll tell you
world
why.
where real shareholding patterns have changed. With real world consequences,
No.
you keep
No.
calling it an academic exercise.
No.
This is not happening in a business
No.
school. This is happening in the real world. Therefore, please don't call it an academic
Rahul
exercise
Savar.
because that is wrong.
Savar.
That is
No,
wrong,
Rahul, it is
Supriya
not
Shrinath. It's
wrong.
not an
Rahul,
academic
because you
exercise.
need to emphasize on what it's not
Rahul,
wrong.
please.
There is a company A which owns 380
Rahul,
crore
you are
worth
now
of assets.
indulging
No, but then it's
beyond
not an.
measure.
So first,
No,
let's
please let me
concede
come
it's
in.
not an academic exercise. You're only saying they haven't stolen money like Subramaniam Swamy alleges because nothing has been sold,
Okay.
and therefore you can't say they ran away with the money. They haven't done that.
Just give me 1 minute of uninterrupted time.
Can
I'll
I know?
explain
I need to finish.
Please,
No, one
Rahul.
second. You've
Rahul,
spoken now,
please.
Supriya. This is
I
not
am
fair.
being-
Let Shahzad speak
You know, the
now. Go on.
BJP is courteous on debates does not mean this is a weakness. Please, now let me come to the major point. An asset does not need to be transferred. You know, if she is going to make these snide remarks, I can also say तपस्या में बहुत कमी रह गई है. ये तपस्या करने से कोई फायदा नहीं है. और मीडिया में भी बहुत तपस्या की इन्होंने. Now let me not go into that direction.
Just
Rahul,
not get
please.
personal. Yeah. Come on, let's have a proper
So let me
conversation.
please have a say. I am
He
not
cannot have a
interrupted her
proper
in one.
conversation because he's lying through his teeth.
Okay, let him speak.
You are not the judge of that,
Supriya,
madam.
you've spoken. You
You
didn't want
and
Shahzad to
Chidambaram
speak.
for sure is out on bail,
No,
and your
let
party
him
presidents
speak.
Let
are
him
not
speak.
judges of
This
that.
makes no
You all
sense.
are out on
Let him
bail.
speak, please.
Kindly, please refrain
Okay.
from your snide, personalized remarks, and don't indulge me into making these. You will go home feeling roasted like your colleague felt the other night. Please, I request
Oh,
you.
please.
Now let me come to the
You know,
point.
don't get
I don't want
arrogant
to. I
and
don't want to
don't you
subject
dare
you
try and
to
threaten me here,
Okay.
the
because
same
you
treatment
come
that
with
Pawan
malicious,
Kheda was.
malignant
Please,
arguments.
I
You
want
come
to
with
spare you
malicious
the Pawan
arguments.
Kheda
You have
treatment.
no
Now please,
basis of what you're doing.
Rahul, can
You
I
jolly
give
well
one
know
second
that
my point?
ED
Can I just have a one-on-one conversation with
Thank you.
Shahzad? We'll come
Thank
back to Supriya in just a moment.
Rahul, now-
She says the money wasn't taken away, no assets have been sold, they haven't benefited, and therefore there is no money laundering. What is the ED doing?
Rahul, there are umpteen number of cases where Section 25 companies or trusts are misused for personal gain.
but where is the gain?
I'm telling you. Point number 2, an asset does not need to be
Please let me
transferred
make your
from A's
argument.
name to B's name. The beneficial interest in that asset, that means you can earn the income. AJL was earning A income. That income transferred to Rahul Gandhi because he owned the shareholding in Young Indians, which owns, in a sense, this property. So that
Wrong,
happened, and I'm not saying that.
wrong.
The income tax, please subjected them to an
Wrong.
income tax notice that you have not shown this income that came from the properties you put out on
So that's
these.
a violation
No,
of
one
income
second.
tax. Where is
I'm
money
coming
laundering involved?
I'm coming to that. Please have just 10
Yeah,
seconds
okay,
more
go on, go on.
So the income tax, the Subramaniam Swamy case and the income tax case became the basis of the starting point of the ED case because 420 and 120B are scheduled
Give me a
offences under
chance to
Section 3 of
correct this.
PMLA. I'm not lying, ma'am. I know the law. I've studied law. Please.
No, you don't.
Now, this
No,
became
you
the
don't.
basis
You
of these
lied to your
cases.
teeth.
ECIR was
It is
registered. There's an
possible
income
to
tax
correct.
inquiry. They challenged that income tax inquiry. They got no relief in High Court and Supreme Court. My simple question is, if they had such noble interests, AJL could have been kept as the major
Rahul, I
shareholder
need
and
to
their
be
loan
given
could have
time
been
to
waived off in
speak
favor of
if I want to
AJL.
show.
They did not do
No, but
that.
the question
Point
that's
number
being
2.
asked. No, one second. The question that's being asked.
Yeah, now let me
An
clarify one
income
thing.
tax offence is different from a money laundering
This
offence.
is a money
right?
laundering.
Where is the money laundering?
Yes.
What is your allegation
Money
about
laun-
money laundering? Because
money-
the charge was with
Please,
Dotex.
please, let me explain.
The point
Yes.
that Supriya made is the transaction with Dotex.
See, this is what
happened
happens
through checks.
when Chidambaram tells you only half part of the law. Money laundering, as per Section 3 of PMLA, is not just money going in and out of the country. Proceeds of
I hope
illegal
I'm going to be given
criminal
time.
activities is
Sure,
also
sure,
money
sure,
laundering.
sure, sure.
Now, in
This
this
is a
particular
one-time
case,
show.
please, madam,
No,
please.
but define the
I'm
criminal
telling
activity.
you, the trial court, when it took cognizance of the case, had got an ECIR registered under sections 403, 406, 420, 120B. 420 and 120B are the basis, the scheduled predicate offences
That's cheating
of
and criminal
PMLA.
conspiracy,
Yes. So this is the basis of the ECIR investigation. He's saying what is the schedule offence? The schedule offence in this case is 420 and 120B. And I'm not lying. I'll read out the trial.
Criminal conspiracy and cheating.
Yes, sir. In PMLA,
money laundering.
Sir, that is proceeds got illegally through cheating from a property that does not belong to you can also become the basis of a money laundering investigation, as has been directed by the court, which has taken cognizance of it. And let me read out to you what the court has said. From the complaint and evidence led so far, it appears, please, it appears that YI was in fact created as a sham or a cloak to convert public money into personal use by a special purpose vehicle, acquiring control over 2,000 crores of assets of AJL, and the accused persons have allegedly acted in consortium with each other to achieve the nefarious purpose.
Okay, hold that.
And the next point, one last point.
When
it was done with criminal intent.
When the shareholding pattern was changed, you didn't go back to the 1,057 shareholders and ask them that these assets which belong to all of you are now, we're changing the shareholding pattern that will largely belong to the Gandhi family, and therefore that is where you take what belongs to many and you give to the Gandhis, and that's where the ED believes that there is a criminal proceed, which they're investigating. They need to prove that, but that's what they're investigating.
The court has taken cognizance of it too.
The ED still needs
yeah,
to
yeah,
prove
but the
it,
court,
right?
on the court's cognizance, this ECIR is not an ECIR that I go and file. This is an ECIR in a special category.
Now let him
The
speak.
court has taken cognizance.
Now let Supriya speak. Supriya.
There is a company A. Company B buys shares of company A. How does company B gain? It's not as if assets follow the buying of shares.
The beneficial interest of
Let
the assets
us
are
speak now.
transferred.
Let us speak now.
He will have to keep quiet, otherwise I can leave the show, and
Let
there's no
him
point
speak.
having the show, because he's
Okay,
not going
go
to allow
ahead,
me
go
to
ahead,
speak,
make
and
your point.
you don't
Make your
mind that
point.
either.
Make your
There is a company A, and its shares are being bought by company B. Company B does not get the assets of company A. Company A at some stage will have to declare dividend, and according to the shareholding, according to you, 98% shareholding, so all the dividend should come to this company. But this company is a not-for-profit company, so it cannot get the dividend, it cannot get the money, it cannot get the financial beneficiaries. How is it then any violation of any law? And let me also tell you, for anybody who has ever filed an income tax filing, and that case is pending before competent authorities there is no section to declare. If Mr. Gandhi was not getting any income or asset or financial benefit out of it, there is no section to declare something. You cannot answer what is not asked. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so we've heard from the Congress, we've heard from the Congress, we've heard from the BJP. Can I now go across to Bishwajit Bhattacharya and get a third party opinion? No, one second. I'm not a judge. No, one second. I'm not a judge. I can't pretend to play the role of a judge and jury. Let Bishwajit Bhattacharya come in. You've heard two arguments. One is that no assets have been sold, the Gandhis haven't benefited.
Half an hour I've heard.
Yes, sir. Where do you think the truth stands? Where do you come out on this?
Now, I have two fundamental points to make.
Go on.
The first point is, Enforcement Directorate has no jurisdiction. And I regret to say that neither the political parties, nor so far any of the, I won't name, have come up with this point. The jurisdiction of Enforcement Directorate basically comes from the Prevention of Money Laundering Act.
Correct, which is the point I was making. Yes, go on.
Okay. Now, whatever allegations have been made, I have been hearing shell company, Hawala company, income tax investigation. You see, Income Tax Act is not a schedule. It is not in the schedule. There are precisely 31 offences under the schedule of the PML Act. When you read section 2(1)(u) read with section 3 and schedule offence, neither the Income Tax Act nor the Foreign Exchange Management Act, which allegedly deals with Hawala, is there. So therefore, ab initio, Enforcement Directorate jurisdiction is void. Number 2 point, which also no one has raised in the country so far, and I am very surprised. I don't think even the Congress party is not capable enough to defend itself. they have got such big legal sort of luminaries. You know, this is a Section 25 company. And in Section 25 company, the assets cannot be dissipated. Section 25 company license is given by the central government. From 23rd of November 2010 till today, from 2010 to 24, 12 years, those conditions, if they are violated, central government is empowered to cancel the license. Has either the Congress government or the BJP government, they have cancelled the license of young Indians? And you are talking about amassing assets and dissipating assets. You know, this company of AJL was floated on the 20th birthday of Indira Gandhi on 19th of November 1937.
Correct.
This AJL and National Herald became a very powerful weapon for India's independence. It continued to operate in a blistering manner. It was banned by the British government from 1942 to 1945. In 2008, the company ran into difficulty. And that is why a bailout package was worked out.
No, one second. Let me pause, sir. With all respect to you, one second. Vishwajit Bhattacharya. No, one second, sir.
Mr. Rahul, you are being unfair. I have waited.
Now let me ask you a question. You've spoken for 2 minutes. Now let me ask you a question.
You don't want to hear inconvenient facts which goes against your thinking.
No, but Mr.
Sir, I have no line.
About the law.
Yes, your line is very clear. You kindly hear me. You kindly hear me for the next 1 minute.
Okay, I'll hear you, sir. Go on.
But please give me an opportunity to counter him. He's not right about the law.
No, I have waited for half an hour. Please.
Okay, go on.
Right.
Shehzad, now let him speak.
This AJL belonged to Congress. And now today, young Indian also belongs to Congress.
It does not belong to the Congress, it belongs to 4 individuals. Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Motilal Vora and Oscar Fernandez are not the Congress party, sir.
Section 25, has Section 25 license been cancelled?
Let me answer.
Sir,
Then how can
Rahul
you
Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi are individuals. It does not belong to the 1,000. How can you, sir, ignore that reality? These 4 people are not the Congress party. They're not 1,000 shareholders.
Rahul Kanwal, you don't want to hear me.
I'm hearing you, sir.
No, you are not hearing me. The question is, there were 5,000 shareholders
Earlier.
Now it reduced to 1057 as on 29th of September 2010. And
Correct.
today there is only one shareholder, that is young Indian.
Correct.
So all these assets belong to young Indians. So one private company to another private company, both are Section 25. The assets cannot be dissipated. Central government in its own wisdom, even Narendra Modi government or the Manmohan Singh government, they did not cancel the license. Where is the question of money laundering? Where is the question of all these allegations?
Let me counter you on the point that the assets still belong to the Congress party and think that is not the case. They don't belong to the Congress party, they belong to 4 individuals.
We have come to a stage in the country, Enforcement Directorate will exercise power without jurisdiction, and the anchor would not like to hear.
Sir, you are, one second, you are welcome to say whatever you want, right? I'm not trying to counter what you're saying. You're welcome to say what you want.
No, you invited me.
Because you are saying the assets belong to the Congress party. They don't belong to the Congress party. They belong to 4 individuals. And someone like you should know that the Congress party is not 4 individuals. The Congress party is not 4 individuals. That's the problem in which this whole thing is being seen. What belongs to 1,000 families cannot then suddenly belong to 4 individuals, and you can say nothing has changed.
Belongs to the company.
Rahul,
and one Congress
and
company.
that company has shareholding which is vested in 4 individuals.
All kinds of allegations can be made without knowing the law.
Shehzad Punawala.
Please,
Go on.
I want to come in.
Now let Shehzad speak.
And I request the Honourable
No, I think
Speaker.
I should also be allowed to comment.
Shehzad.
Rahul, please. Firstly, please understand one thing. This is not a proceeding on income tax laws. The income tax violation is a separate case. There is a violation of Section 420 and 120B that forms the basis of the Section 3 of PMLA getting activated for money laundering, because money laundering...
But the point he's making is that can be investigated by anyone, by the ED. That's the question.
I am telling you exactly that. Please give me 1 minute. Don't interrupt. Have some patience and faith in me. The ED works on an act called PMLA. There is Section 3 of the PMLA. Section 3 of the PMLA defines money laundering. Money laundering, as we think, is not just money coming in and out of the country, it is proceeds of a crime. The proceeds of the crime were determined by the fact that 420 and 120B were violated, and this is not being said by Shahzad or by Narendra Modi or Amit Shah. It was said by a trial court, the basis of which became the foundation of the ECIR, which is the equivalent of an FIR. This is, one second, please don't interrupt, I'm making a fundamental point. FIR is still an allegation made by A about B, and it goes to court. This is the court taking cognizance and telling the ED, go ahead.
No, but if every criminal conspiracy or 400 BC ka case comes to the ED.
Not in this particular case, this became the trigger point of the money laundering investigation. Now let me make one fundamental point, Rahul. If the Honorable Biswajit Ji thinks that all of this is illegal, no jurisdiction, right? Here is a news report, I think it's of India Today, or PTI. ED had attached a Mumbai property of National Herald last year. If this was all being done without jurisdiction, without an ECIR, without a court order, without a court cognizance, investigation from Motilal Vora and Oscar Fernandez, Chidambaram did not go to court for 1 year, 2 years and get this quashed till now, and they got no relief, and this is all illegally happening. Point number 2. Sir, I don't need to make the asset in my name, but the asset was generating an income. For instance, there was a Herald House building. That Herald House building was given on rent. That rent was technically supposed to come to AJL, but because I took over AJL through Young Indians, now that rent is coming to me. That's what the income tax said, that you took away money meant for AJL to yourself, and it was challenged by them in High Court and Supreme Court.
So even if the assets haven't been sold,
the beneficial interest in the asset.
Not just the beneficial interest in the asset, the fact that the rental income now starts coming to these 4 individuals and not to the larger chunk of 1,000 plus shareholders, that by itself is problematic, suppression.
राहुल कंवल, वहीं पर आप गलत है सर. इतनी देर से यही बताने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ हिंदी और अंग्रेजी में. वहीं पर आप गलत हैं. वो इनकम नहीं आएगी यंग इंडियन को, इवन दो इट इज अ शेयर होल्डर, क्योंकि यहाँ पर ये सेक्शन 25 की कंपनी है. वो रेंटल इनकम सोनिया गांधी, राहुल गांधी, मोतीलाल वोरा या ऑस्कर फर्नांडिस को नहीं आ सकती. ये सेक्शन 25 की कंपनी है. उनको कोई भी फाइनेंशियल बेनिफिट नहीं मिल सकता है. कल को अगर यंग इंडियन बंद होकर बेच भी की जाए तो उनका 1 पैसे का एसेट राहुल गांधी और सोनिया गांधी को नहीं मिलेगा. ये कौन सी बात समझ में नहीं आ रही है?
Okay, that's a good point. If the money had been taken, then the Section 25 license could have been cancelled. Respond to Vishwajit. That's a good point. Vishwajit Bhattacharya makes a good point.
I'm responding to both. I'm responding to both. Rahul, it's 2 versus 1.
Yeah, respond.
Rahul,
respond to Vishwajit Bhattacharya. Go on.
Yes. First of all, 1 second. So you're being you're sounding like the official Congress spokesperson, sir. So you are a practitioner and a person who understands law. You don't have to be a party. If you want to be a party, you designate yourself as such.
Okay, respond. Okay, other faders down. Let Shahzad respond. They haven't taken money out.
With folded hands, with folded hands, I'm asking.
No, you just said rental income goes to Rahul and Sonia.
I'm telling.
He's saying that's not possible.
मुझे complete करने दो, नहीं समझ पाएंगे लोग. 60 lakh was being earned per month by that Herald House being given to Passport Seva Kendra. It was supposed to go to AJL. Where is that money gone? Ask Supriya Shinate. If it has not been pocketed by Rahul and Sonia, income tax says it, High Court confirms it, Supreme Court confirms it. I am supposed to believe Supriya that they didn't take it. They didn't use up that money. Why should I believe her? You tell me where's the 60 lakh?
No, but that's what he's saying.
And now coming to the cancellation of the license. The cancellation of the license will come.
That's the law of the land.
There is right now, this is a matter in which the court has taken cognizance. ED is investigating, IT is investigating. Once it's proven that license will be cancelled, if we cancel the license beforehand, then they will say it's vendetta. My limited point is only this. If you were above board, why did you transfer the shares of AJL to Young Indians? आप AJL के पास रख के young loan माफ करवा देते. And can Congress give a loan maafi to a Young Indians which is doing business in real estate?
Let me put that question to Vishwajit Bhattacharya because he came out so strong. No, 1 second. Vishwajit Bhattacharya, what could have been done by the Congress party is if that 90 crores of loans had to be waived off, it could have been done when shareholding still vested with Associated Journal. You didn't need to create this separate holding company called Young Indian and transfer the assets and equity over there. No, 1 second. Vishwajit, why not write off AJL's loans?
If All India Congress Committee decides to give 90 crores to Young India or to AJL, then it is none of business of anybody.
Congress party is not a person. Congress party is not a private entity. It's a party. It is representation of People's Act. It is election commission answerable. It gets people's money as donations. What are you saying, Mr. Biswajit? I'm shocked. Congress party is not a private company that Sonia Gandhi ka man kara maaf kar diya. And look at the conflict of interest. Motilal Vora was the MD of AJL. Motilal Vora was the treasurer of Congress, and Motilal Vora was the shareholder of YI.
No, can I just come in to say that one of the most
once voted by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in
So you're losing a sense of balance in the arguments you're making.
No, one second. Okay, all papers down, please. Just 1 second. Can I just say that one of the most fundamental principles of accounting is the entity concept, which is that you can't take what belongs to a collective or to a company or to a body, say the Congress, or to 1,000 shareholders, and transfer that to 4 individuals and say if the Congress decided to waive off the loan for young Indians, how is it of anybody else's business? There are the rights of 1,057 shareholders involved. Those shareholders were not consulted. What belonged to them was given to 4 individuals. Now, whether they've sold it or not is a different matter. But what belonged to them has been given to 4 individuals. And the likes of Bishwajit Bhattacharya cannot get away by saying if the Congress decided to give it to young Indians, then what goes of anybody else?
Tell them to show the Congress resolution.
That is not how it works.
Exactly. Show the Congress resolution that all members of the Congress party assented to it. Chaliye, I'll leave this debate if Supriya can show me.
But even then it is problematic.
It is problematic.
What belongs to the India Today group does not belong to one individual.
They didn't even do that. That's what I'm saying. This is a complete fraud. And it allows a money laundering investigation to take place. And I'm surprised.
An asset that belongs to the India Today group cannot be transferred to my name, for example, and say how is it of anybody else's concern. As part of a listed company, there are other shareholders involved. They have rights. You can't transfer to an individual and say, "Humne kar diya, what goes of your father?" It doesn't work like that. That is problematic.
Who gave the money to Congress? Who gave the money to Congress? Was it Sonia Gandhi's ghar ka paisa? Sonia Gandhi ke ghar ka paisa tha?
What are you saying? Rahul, have you read the Congress party? Do you not want the Congress spokesperson to come in and clarify some of these things?
Do you understand the law?
Yes, I understand the law, and the law is on my side. There are 2 court orders in my favor, not in yours. You are questioning the law. You are questioning the court orders. You have none to back your claim.
Supriya, I'm out of time. I'm going to 20 seconds to wrap up. Supriya.
Rahul Kanwal, firstly I want to say, ये जो जुगलबंदी आपकी और बीजेपी की चल रही थी, इस पर आपको शायद मुझे ज्यादा वक्त देना चाहिए था बोलने का, जो आपने नहीं दिया।
आपकी जुगलबंदी यंग इंडियंस में कैसे चल रही थी देश ने देखा है जी। आपकी जुगलबंदी देख रहे थे।
लोगों के चलते आज देश का ये हाल हो गया। चुप रहिए। वहाँ पे श्रीलंका में जाके
You better speak with respect. Supriya, I give you respect. It does not mean you take me for granted. My silence and my discipline is not my weakness. I am not here to be abused by people like you. Please get that very clear, Supriya. I speak to you with respect. I treat you as my elder sister. Does not mean you come and you use this language. Please go home and do what you used to do before this, was being a partisan journalist. The only person who has a track record of being a partisan journalist is you. One day in the media, the next day you're contesting an election, and you are coming here and lecturing Rahul Kanwal. Please have some shame. You are in the media, and next day you join and short an election, and you are lecturing Rahul Kanwal.
Okay.
Have some shame.
One second.
To procrastinate. And don't do this ever. Do not take anybody for granted.
One second. I am humble enough to say I don't have all the facts before me, and that this is a matter before investigating agencies and before courts. It can only be resolved in a court of law. There are very serious questions. We try to delve into some of those questions. Ultimately, you need non-partisan judges. Having a Congress versus BJP debate doesn't provide the answer, because you need a non-partisan judge to decide on the mala fide or the bona fides of this case. But there are different ways in which this transaction could have been structured. That is very clear. They chose a particular route. It ends up benefiting 4 individuals. The argument is, but those 4 individuals haven't monetarily benefited, even though the assets are in their name, not in an academic way, but in a very real world way. They haven't taken any money out, and therefore only a judge in his wisdom can decide what happens next. We'll track the politics and the financial trail in this case very closely. For the time being, Bishwajit Bhattacharya, Supriya Srinath and Shahzad Poonawalla for lighting up this news track debate with fireworks, which is all over the place for a bit in a while, but we'll try to bring it under control to the extent possible. Thank you.